What are 5 things that you should avoid when it comes to starting Shopify dropshipping? You guys, I'm going to be diving into my computer here in a moment through a presentation that I put together just for you in this video on not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5. I lost count there. 5 things that you should definitely avoid doing. Now, these are things that are actually all going to be avoidable except for the first one because of the first one. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. But before we get into this one, you guys, I want you to go ahead and drop a comment down below on what you personally believe some of the biggest, maybe it's just one that you have in mind or a couple just off the top of your head that you think people make, as in a mistake, what mistakes people make when they're getting started. These might be mistakes that you made or maybe that you're making and you're kind of realizing, because it's important to be vulnerable. It's important to be open about that and at least analyze what you probably did wrong. Now, as of right now, it is the day after we closed down the test group for the bundle deal that we were offering over New Year's, which is the craziest thing ever. A bunch of personal help, like one-on-one calls and whatnot for just an unreal thing, which some of you guys might have seen. If you missed that, don't worry. We still have other resources available, like this YouTube channel and some others down below if you want to check out some of the links in the description. But with that being said, let's talk about this, because as we move into 2019, I want to pivot a couple of things, and I'm going to be very methodical in how I move, and there will be a whole YouTube content update video coming soon. But I want to talk about this because a lot of you might be getting into it or making some of these mistakes right now. So the goal out of this is to get you to either recognize a mistake you're making, stop a mistake that you're already making that you kind of knew you were making, or just to make you very, very aware of these. Especially if you're just getting started, this will help you so much, even if you got things going. So let's jump into my computer and start going through this. All right, here are the 5 things. We have it outlined inside of here. Let's jump right in. Number 1, bad information. Now, this is where the other 4 inside of here would be completely null and void. You would not make that mistake if you had the right information. So to give you a quick sliver of information on this and kind of what I mean, if someone comes to you, wherever you're learning from right now, if someone comes to you, just pretend this situation would exist. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, you're learning from the wrong person, they're fake, what they're talking about doesn't work, and it's never helped anybody. If someone said those 3 things and came up to you after they said that, if they said those, you need to be able to undoubtedly, without a question, prove them wrong beyond any disbelief immediately, both about the person and the results that what they're showing create. So whoever you've picked, like, this is why I recommend don't mass mix. That's a little phrase that I coined. If you're listening to this person, this person, this person, this, and you're trying to mix it all together and you have nothing going, nothing's working, you got to stick to one thing first. So pick something you know that works. If that's me for you, that's amazing. We have one of the single biggest e-commerce channels for a reason. We've had multiple millionaire students, a little bit over half a dozen actually, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individual successful students. So you can kind of make your judgment of who you actually resonate with the most. That's how I recommend you kind of pick it. It's got to be out of 2 things. The results, obviously, and what they can help you with, but also if you resonate with them or not. Because if you don't resonate with someone, if it's not really your vibe, then you're not going to pay as much attention. It's just not going to help you to the full effect that it could. So keep that in mind. Information, you got to get the right information, even if you have to pay for it or you got to travel to seek it out, whatever you have to do. That's the most important thing, especially before you start spending any money at all. Okay. Now, number 2, the what product, what niche cycle. Again, this is all canceled out if you have the right information, but I see this all the time, especially people in my DMs, sometimes YouTube comment, but I mean, I was in the same thing. Hey, man, I'd ask the people that were successful to me, successful and next to me, I'd be like, yo, what product should I sell? What niche should I get in? It's a common question. It's a common theme. And even if you don't ask it, you might be wondering it. You've got to ditch that. Again, it's not going to be an issue if you have the right information. So the reason I'm saying that shouldn't be something that you run into, that's a problem and something you should avoid, is because you should already kind of know based on a little bit of research. Again, listen to one person, figure out a research strategy, pick a product, and then be committed to it. You have to commit to the product, learn everything about the audience, writing the ad copy, doing the research, even not for the purpose of making money with that product through that audience, but just by understanding the process so that then when you come across the right product, you'll do it the right way and you will get results. That's going to be huge. So you want to avoid the whole what product, what niche cycle if you can. All right. Number 3, this is something a little more personal. Some people disagree with it. Starting with purchase conversion, hint or a key, with no data and an uncertain product. So let me give you a little example of what I mean by this if you don't know. If you're starting Facebook, you have an option of what type of ad you want to run. There's 14 different primary ads that you can go ahead and run. There's a bunch of little subcategories in there, especially in the conversion events. Now, Purchase conversion is one where a lot of people will say, start with it, don't start with it, do this, do that. Like it's so much, again, mixed information, and it's because it's not like one way is right or the other. Like I've done it both ways, but for me, not starting with it works the best. And there's a very, very simple reason for it. It's because you don't have the data and I haven't built it the right way. So at least for what I'm doing, the strategy that works the best, works the fastest, and works with the least amount of money is going to involve most likely not starting with the purchase conversion, especially if you don't know if your product is a winner. If you don't know that product is a winner yet, you're just testing it, I would not be starting with conversion for purchase. And also, if you have no data, if you have no data on your pixel, let alone for that product, but just no data at all, it's a fresh pixel, then you're going to have a little bit of a hard time getting Facebook to optimize in your favor with a purchase. Now, there's a lot of little things that do play into that, stuff like your audience size, what type of ad you're running inside of there, where you're targeting, the time of day, like the budget, a bunch of things, your placement and the ad itself. But you've got to just keep in mind, pick your strategy and run with it. For me, I don't really start with purchase conversion right away. Maybe on like small micro tests, but it's still not day one. Like I'll run some other ones and just see what's working, then maybe just try a purchase for the hell of it. So it's all about testing, but there's a strategy behind the madness, right? Now, number 4, this is not meant to be insulting to anyone. I want to make this very, very clear. When I was writing it, I understand where people could take this the wrong way, but let me explain. Using a basic theme simply because you don't know any better. And it's not a bad thing. That's why I wrote down below here. There's a right and a wrong time to use one. I still use free themes all the time. So often. Now, I do have my team, one of my guys custom code a couple of little things on it. So it's a couple of small tweaks that I personally believe help so much. However, if you're using a free theme just for the sake of, oh, it looks simple, or hey, it's free, you're making a mistake. You have to have a reason behind it. Again, there's a method for the madness. This goes all the way back to the information on what theme you should be using, how to set up your store. But if all you're doing is sticking with the theme, like if you made 100 different types of stores right now and you would pick a free theme for all of them, well, if you have a one product store versus a regular store versus something you're trying to brand versus something you're trying to do this with like an upsell as your main offer, like, or it's funneling, it's a cheap front end offer to get them in and then upsell them heavily on a certain thing, funnel right. Like there's different structures for the different goals that you're trying to achieve. So the type of store you have is going to reflect that, which is why you got to at least know, and someone should have told you this, back to the right information, what type of theme, what type of story you should be building based on what you're trying to do, because there are differences, okay? So definitely don't just use a free theme just because it's free and for the sake of it. You got to make sure it's in line with what you're doing. Now, the 5th one. This is something that's huge, and contrary to what your teachers probably told you, there is such a thing as asking the wrong question. Do not ask the wrong question. I know this simply because I get a lot of questions. And sometimes it's laughable, sometimes it upsets me, sometimes I'll make a post on my Instagram with a screenshot of one of them, and I'll be like, dude, come on. Or I'll be like, yo, please phrase your questions this way. I made a whole thing a couple months ago, this was a little while back, talking about okay, you ask a question this way, this is how you should be leading into it, just for the sake of helping people. But I guess not a lot of people saw it, or not a lot of people paid attention, because there's a specific format you need to be asking questions in, but it's not just the format, it's what you're asking. If you're asking me stuff that you can find not only for free and on the internet, but on my YouTube. Especially, I've had people who asked me a question that was answered in my YouTube video 3 days ago. And I just referenced them in the video. I'm like, hey, go check it out. The video explains all that more in depth. But you got to ask the right questions, because what's going to happen is if someone's actually seeing your questions and they're answering them, I know there's a lot of people in the space, whatever. I see a decent chunk of my DMs. I do my best to be in there and reply whenever I get a free moment in the day. But there's people who answer their questions, and I see that the whole string of conversation is just, them asking a question, me answering, thanks. Then after me answering, a little red heart, or thanks, I appreciate it. Like things, I'll do it. But eventually, if it's just a bunch of questions, maybe not every day, but if it's been 5, 8, 10 questions, and it's all just what I would consider a bad question or something they can figure out on their own, or that would have been answered in one of our programs, I'm going to stop replying and I'm going to go to someone else who's asking more strategic questions that's going to help them better. Hey, can you check out my store? Or what do you think of my product titles? Little things that are just not determining factors at all, and are just probably bad positioned questions. There is such thing as that. What's going to happen? And I'm not saying this in a negative way or to disrespect anyone or because of me getting any questions. This is based on what I was told by other people, because I had people when I was about 15, 16, really getting serious into the business world. Very successful people told me straight up, dude, you can't be asking that. Don't ask me that question. Here's why. And they explained it to me. And I was a little bit I guess a little bit embarrassed, and it hurt me a little. I was like, oh, damn. But and I tried to I just backed up. And now I understand why they said that. So I'm trying to convey that as best as possible to you, because if you're asking me something or someone else, and it might even not be in a business sense or an e-commerce sense, but still, there's ways. You got to ask the right questions, not stuff you can find for free. Ask stuff that people probably don't get asked a lot, and stuff that's very specific to your situation. Okay, and you got to kind of have that balance, because if you're asking them something every day, then you're just trying to use them. You're just pulling information. So keep that, because you don't want to use up all your questions. Let me put it like that. Okay, so these right here are 5 things. Again, bad information, the what product, what niche cycle, starting with purchase conversion. Well, that's with no data and uncertain product. Using a basic theme simply because you don't know any better. There's a right and wrong time to use one, and asking the wrong questions. Those are the 5, 3 plus 2, or 2 plus 3, however you want to think about it. Those are the 5 specific things right there that you're going to want to be focusing on not doing when you're getting started with e-commerce. This is something that I actually kind of took from my ads. So when I'm doing my ads on Facebook, and you guys, again, we'll see more about this in our programs and whatnot. You might have seen some of it on YouTube, but I don't just try and guess what's working. I never like to assume. I can make an educated guess, but that's never going to determine what I do 100%. I still test. So what I like to do is not just try and move towards what's working, but I try and cut out what's not working. I'll slice it, I'll get rid of it, and eventually you're going to be left with something that's working really, really well. So that's why I wanted to touch on in this video things to not do, so then you'll be kind of leading towards yourself on figuring out what you should be doing. That will help you narrow it down, and you'll be able to figure it out on there. Being self-sufficient is huge. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments what golden nugget was the biggest piece for you. I know people are going to resonate with different things in different styles. Definitely let me know what that most valuable piece was for you down in the comments below. With that being said, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're nearing in on 110,000 subscribers roughly, which is insane. 110,000. I appreciate you guys. That's amazing. Thank you very much for the support on every video. If there's anything you want to see or any questions you want to have structured correctly, leave it in the comments down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys within the next couple days, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow in the next video. Peace.